Hello, welcome to EVTN News. Today, I'd like to talk about several stories, but before I get started, I saw on Twitter that Ryan Grant's wife just died from cancer. Her name was Sarah Grant, and so please pray for her soul. She leaves behind 9 children, including a basically newborn. So that's really sad. That's part of life. It's go to a cemetery and walk through it and pray for the holy souls, and it gives you a different perspective of life. Even if you don't have very many relatives or close relatives there, any relatives or friends, it kind of gives you a perspective, and it shows you that you got to utilize the time that you have, because someday it'll be gone. Anyway, moving on. McCarrick. A few weeks ago, McCarrick's lawyers filed a motion in the case arguing that McCarrick, now 92, is not competent to stand trial because of what they called irreversible dementia. A day after the filing, a reporter for NewJersey.com and the USA Today network, New Jersey, reached McCarrick on his private phone line. The conversation was brief, lasting less than 10 minutes. The former prelate sounded calm and composed throughout. The reporter asked, "Do you remember James Grine?" McCarrick said, "Yes, I remember him." He denied the accusations, which involved 20 years of abuse that allegedly started when Grine was 11 years old. McCarrick said, "It is not true. The things that he said about me are not true. If you want more information about it, you can talk to my lawyers." Does that sound like someone who has dementia? Anyway, I would say not. What do you think? Okay, C9 Cardinals. So this is the Pope Francis appointed 5 new members to his Council of Cardinal Advisors on Tuesday. So C9 is supposedly the 9 cardinals, but I think it was down to 6. And so he appointed more than he kicked out, which is because there was a lower number. Pope Francis has nominated Brazilian Cardinal Sergio de Roca, Spanish Cardinal Juan Jose Omella, and Cardinal Fernando Vergez Alzaga, the president of the Governorate of Vatican City State, to be new members of the council, along with Synod organizer Cardinal Jean-Claude Hollerich and Canadian Cardinal Gerald Lacroix. With the new appointments, Honduran Cardinal Oscar Rodriguez Maradiaga, 80 years old, and Germany's Cardinal Reinhard Marx are no longer members of the Council of Cardinals. Cardinal Giuseppe Bertello, the 80-year-old retired president of the Governorate of Vatican City State, has been replaced by his successor. So Marx is out. What kind of message does that send? Marx isn't even 70 years old. Maradiaga is out because he's 80. And O'Malley's still on there. What does that say? But he appointed, so Pope Francis, he chooses the cardinals, he chooses his advisors. She's choosing his advisor, his synodal advisor, Cardinal Jean-Claude Hollerich, who is an endorser of LMNOP activity. He has endorsed, I believe, there was a speech where he supported 4 heresies in that speech. Or at least, maybe it was in a news article, and I picked out at least 4 heresies that he spoke. So, what does that say about Pope Francis choosing his friends? You can choose your friends. You can pick your friends. You can pick your advisors, right? Would you want Cardinal Hollerich as your advisor? Would you want Pope Francis as your advisor? Let's be honest. You can pick. And Pope Francis can choose. He can choose who's a cardinal. He can name McElroy a cardinal. But what does that say? Does he name people he disagrees with as cardinal? Does he name an advisor? Does he name someone as an advisor who he disagrees with? Would he name Trump as an advisor? Trump is more Catholic than Hollerich. I'll just throw that out there. Sources close to the Vatican's Secretariat for the Economy have privately suggested the Holy See's 3.3 million euro deficit in 2021 has exploded, with some estimates suggesting it could be as much as 50 million for this year, almost entirely down because of a drop in international donations. So let me repeat this. 3.3 million euro deficit became 50 million in 1 year. Things are pretty drastic in the Vatican. All right, in the description I have linked all my sources below, including Father Richard Heilman has been transferred. Now you'll know him from the U.S. Grace Force. He's in Wisconsin. I believe it is Madison. Many of the parishes have been merged in Madison, Wisconsin, and he was transferred in this merger. His beautiful parish of St. Mary's could face problems in the future. So Father Heilman, as far as I know, says both the Novus Ordo and the Latin Mass. However, his Novus Ordo is one of the most reverent Novus Ordos in the entire country, because his altar is built like a Catholic altar. And if you haven't seen that, I think, what's it called? St. Mary's of Pine Bluff. You can probably just search that in YouTube and find his daily masses, and you'll see what I mean. And their Novus Ordo masses, it's definitely interesting. If I had that option for a Novus Ordo mass, would I ever go? I don't know. I'll let you know if I ever have that option, which is probably never going to happen, but it's an interesting thought. All right. China Aid, a U.S.-based Christian charity, reported March 6 that the religious department of the provincial government of Henan is rolling out a system whereby all believers must make online reservations before they can attend services in churches, mosques, or Buddhist temples. So it's not specifically targeting Christians, it's targeting all faiths. Communism targets all faiths. The reservations are to be made through an app called Smart Religion, developed by the Ethnic and Religious Affairs Commission of Henan Province. According to China Aid, applicants must fill out personal information including their name, phone number, government ID number, permanent residence, occupation, and date of birth before they can make a reservation. Those who are allowed into a place of worship must also have their temperature taken, suggesting the app may be related in some way to virus restrictions, and show a reservation code. I don't think it has to do with the virus. And we would be wise to never let that happen in our country. Never let anything like that happen in our country. Of course we did. The bishops did. They declared themselves non-essential. And I would say that's pretty accurate. You could just let the SSPX bishops take care of things. I think things would be a lot better in this country. A group of French bishops has proposed to the Pope formulation of the paragraphs of the Catechism of the Catholic Church concerning LMNOP. Archbishop Hervé Girard of Saint-Auxerre said the process of reconsidering LMNOP in the French Roman Catholic Church has been ongoing since the ad limina visit to Rome in 2021. He said since then several bishops have been working on revising the doctrine. Archbishop Girard says these proposals must obviously be examined by the competent dicastery and submitted to the discernment of the Pope. So not so would you say not so secret synodal path of the French bishops. But he said the bishops have been working on revising the doctrine. So doctrine can change. If you think that, you're a heretic. Next question. All right. So Taylor Marshall interviewed Eric Sammons just this past week about the situation in Steubenville. And there were some interesting things that were discussed there. So if you want to watch that, go ahead. Feel free to watch that. So Bishop Jeffrey Monforton of the Diocese of Steubenville, Ohio, ordered an immediate end to the Latin Mass on Franciscan University's campus. I reported this last week. But there's more information available now. A spokesperson for the diocese said the Diocese of Steubenville is seeking to meet the pastoral needs of the faithful in accord with the norms, including the recent rescript issued by the Holy See. However, the problem is that there's a Latin Mass in the town of Steubenville at a parish church. But the bishop canceled the Latin Mass on a college campus, in a college chapel, which is inconsistent with what the rescript would suggest. Father Dave Pavanka, the president of Franciscan University, wrote an email to students, staff, and faculty at the university last Monday. He said, "While I would prefer to continue offering the option of a traditional Latin Mass on campus, I am grateful our students still have relatively convenient access with St. Peter's Church so close by." He said in his email that he had spoken with the bishop in an effort to keep the Latin Mass on campus. He said, "I spoke with Bishop Monforton several times, hoping we could work out a way to continue offering the Latin Mass at Franciscan University for many students, faculty, and staff, with a special love for this ancient form of the sacred liturgy. Bishop Monforton remains convinced, however, that this decision is best for our diocese in light of Pope Francis' 2021 Motu Proprio Traditionis Custodes." You know, I'd like to see a little bit more of this, but a little bit more, what should I say? A little bit more blame directed at the bishops. Because the bishop could have said, nope, we're not banning any Latin Masses. In fact, we're going to expand it. And you can do that. You're a bishop. Peprocki has done it, I think. Has he expanded it? I don't know. Some of the bishops have. All right. The German Synodal Way. Oh, yeah. The Germans had a meeting. Did you hear about that? Probably. Is this the German schism? Guess what? The Germans have been in schism for the last several years. Where have you been? The German Synodal Way has voted to adopt implementation texts related to LMNOP blessings, lay preaching during Mass, and a request for Pope Francis to re-examine the discipline of priestly celibacy in the Latin Rite Catholic Church. Several religious sisters also called for lay preaching and sacramental faculties. As religious sisters, I don't think they're very religious. One even suggested that women in her religious community would not go to a priest for confession because they wanted to engage in the sacrament with someone who could accompany them. So the Vatican II, the Vatican II sect has gone so far off the deep end that they refuse to go to confession. So that's not even the laws of the church, that's not a very high standard to go to confession once a year. It's really not. And they won't even, so have they not been to confession? When was the last time they've been to valid confession? Because you can confess your sins to anyone, right? I could confess my sins to all of you. But unless any of you are a priest, you can't absolve them. And that's the same thing. So anyway, at this meeting, so that's not the only thing. The LMNOP blessings that was kind of the people made a big deal about that. But think about this. All right. Rejecting the Bible and common sense, this is from Gloria TV, the German Synod adopted on March 11th a text on gender ideology. Only 7 bishops voted against, 13 abstained. The document claims that the ordination of, quote, intersex and transvestites should not be ruled out, but should be considered on a case-by-case basis. Did you hear about that? This should be the highlight of the story. I mean, the Germans, they were all about their LMNOP blessings for years. You already knew that, but you didn't know about this. This means that a woman who believes she is a man would be invalidly ordained as a man. Conversely, a man who pretends to be a woman could become a priest. So you could have women priests or actual women who are ordained priests. Think about that. Do you want to be part of a diocese like that? No. All right. EVTN News, Eternal Vigano Television Network. Vigano was in the news, but he wasn't the one who was speaking. It was Francis. Francis commented on Vigano. I will not say one word. Or maybe I'll say a few words. In his March 10th interview, Francis lamented about a resistance of the bad kind. For him, there is a good resistance, where a good project it is seen and discussed. Francis is so angry at Archbishop Vigano that he openly named him, calling Vigano a very well-known American bishop who was a nuncio. Of course, he got that wrong. Vigano is an Italian. Francis said of him, "It is not known whether this man is Catholic or not. He is on the border." What? The judgment against Vigano from Francis, who famously said, "Who am I to judge?" came on the day when the German bishops mocked God by voting for an LMNOP blessing. So Francis is criticizing Vigano but remaining silent on the German schism. I will not say one word. There you go. And these last few days we're celebrating 10 years of Pope Francis, so Pachamama and Chinese sellout and German Synodal way. That's and then you have Supich, Tobin, McElroy, McCarrick? No, Francis didn't make McCarrick a cardinal, but made his friends cardinals. Man, if only he would have just said, "I'm not resigning, but I will not make any more public appearances." If only he would have taken that direction. How much better off would we have been? Very much better off. If the Pope had done nothing for 10 years, we would have been so much better off than we are now. If the Pope had lived in his cave or in the same room in the Vatican for 10 years and said nothing and did nothing, we'd be in a much better spot. And of course, Pope Francis, this is in the Vatican News website. It's not in some satire site. He said, "I am sure everyone prays. To the non-believers I say, pray for me, and if you don't pray, send me good vibes." An atheist friend writes to me, "I send you good vibes. It is a pagan way of praying, but it is a loving way, and to love someone is a prayer." So, okay, you don't have to be Catholic. Well, we're not sure if Vigano's Catholic, but you don't have to be Catholic. That's fine. Unless you're Vigano, then it's not fine. But if you're not Catholic, you can always send positive thoughts and good vibes. So that's what I'm doing here on EVTN News. Don't worry about prayer. I mean, it is Lent, but don't worry about it because there are people that don't pray. And that's fine. And if they don't pray, if you don't pray, then just send your positive thoughts and good vibes. And so I guess that's how I'm going to end the show. So, are there any comments today? No one in the live chat. It's always more fun when people are commenting. Well, okay. Well, if you missed it live, comment after the fact. And please make sure to send me your positive thoughts and good vibes. You know, gather, what is it? Build an altar to your Pachamama idol and your Buddha idols. Or nothing at all, because atheism is self-worship, right? I guess. I mean, a lot of people worship celebrities. That's kind of a thing. I don't really watch movies. I don't know. I guess apparently there was some awards show recently. They're all garbage. They're all trash. Watch John the Son of Thunder instead. There's a documentary I started watching on Archbishop Lefebvre. Watch good stuff. All right. Thank you so much for watching. This is John the Son of Thunder sending you positive thoughts and good vibes. How do you send a vibe? Oh, it's just a spiritual thing, you know? If you were a hippie, you would know, Marie. You just gotta know. What about that 70s stuff? Where they would go and, sit in a circle and sing Kumbaya. Oh, that was the 70s guitar masses, right? Everything they do is from the 60s, even the heresy. I like it. How do you send a good vibe? It's like a spiritual connection. Not like a religious. No, spiritual but not religious, right? You heard that before. And some of the Protestant sects will say God hates religion. So what is he like? All right. This is John the Son of Thunder signing off, sending you good vibes and positive thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. We are the laity, and we will not be silent.